Gate agent refuses to board black girl in a wheelchair, and her father shuts down the entire airport. But what that gate agent said to a 13-year-old girl in a wheelchair will make your blood boil. Wheelchair passengers belong in designated seating areas only. Gregory Vance stands at gate D14 in Chicago O'Hare Airport, blocking the jetway entrance with his body like a human barrier. His voice carries that special authority people use when they've decided someone doesn't deserve what they're asking for. You'll need to be reassigned to row 38, middle seats. That's where people like you sit. People like you. The words land on 13-year-old Zara Whitfield like physical blows. She sits in her wheelchair wearing a purple hoodie her mother bought her 3 years ago, before the accident, before the wheelchair, before everything changed. Her hands grip the armrests so tight her knuckles go pale. Helen Fisher, her caregiver, stands behind the wheelchair holding 2 first-class boarding passes for seats 1A and 1B. Bulkhead row. Extra legroom. Purchased specifically because Zara's flying to Los Angeles for experimental spinal surgery that might let her walk again. Might let her run again. Might give her back the life a drunk driver stole when he killed her mother and shattered her spine. Here's what nobody wants to admit in 2025. Disability and racial discrimination didn't disappear with the Americans with Disabilities Act. It didn't get solved with wheelchair ramps and accessible bathrooms. It evolved. It learned to hide behind safety regulations and FAA protocols and concern trolling disguised as professional procedure. And when you add blackness to disability, when you're a black child in a wheelchair asking for the dignity of a seat your family paid for, the discrimination doubles, compounds, becomes something worse than what Rosa Parks faced because at least then people were honest about their hatred. Zara isn't surprised by Gregory's tone. She's shocked, yes, because you're never quite ready for an adult to look at a child in a wheelchair and see a problem instead of a person. But surprised? Not at all. This is her reality. The teachers who assume she's intellectually disabled because her legs don't work. The store managers who follow her thinking she'll steal something. The strangers who talk to Helen about Zara like Zara isn't sitting right there capable of speaking for herself. Each time the same script. The same suspicious eyes. The same assumption that a black disabled child must be trying to get away with something. Helen's voice shakes when she speaks. Sir, her father specifically purchased these seats because she needs extra space for her medical equipment and comfort before major surgery. Gregory scoffs. Actually scoffs like the idea of Zara having a father who cares enough to buy first-class tickets is ridiculous. Her father should have read the regulations. I'm not risking an FAA violation because someone doesn't understand disability protocols. He picks up his radio, makes a show of it, speaks loud enough for everyone in the gate area to hear. I have a wheelchair passenger with invalid seat assignment, refusing to board until reassigned to compliant seating. 70 minutes pass. 70 minutes of Zara sitting in her wheelchair while other passengers board around her. An elderly white man with a cane walks past. First-class ticket. Bulkhead row 2. Gregory smiles at him. Watch your step, sir. Enjoy the flight. No questions about safety violations. No concerns about FAA regulations. No reassignment to the back of the plane. Zara notices. Helen notices. The 40 people waiting at gate D14 with their phones out recording notice. But nobody says anything. Nobody intervenes. Nobody risks becoming the next target of Gregory's authority. Zara's in pain now. Sitting in a wheelchair for over an hour without being able to shift position properly. Her back aches. Her legs spasm. Tears start falling and she can't stop them. Can't hide them. Helen kneels beside the wheelchair trying to comfort her, but what comfort is there when a grown man with a name tag and authority has decided you don't deserve basic dignity? Helen, Zara whispers, her voice breaking. Please call my dad. Something's wrong. Helen steps away. Takes out her phone. Calls Damian Whitfield. The call connects. Helen's voice is urgent. Damian, we have a problem at the gate. They won't let Zara board. They're trying to move her to middle seats in the back. She's crying. She's in pain. 4 minutes later, every departure board in O'Hare Airport starts flashing red. All flights suspended. Emergency Protocol Alpha. If you believe no child should ever be humiliated like this because of their disability and their skin color, keep watching. If you think discrimination against disabled passengers is something we solved decades ago, you need to see what happens when you mess with the wrong child. And if you've ever been treated like you don't belong somewhere because of how you look or because your body works differently, drop a comment below. Tell us your story. Tell us where you're watching from and what time it is right now. We're reading every single one. This story doesn't end the way you think. Hit that subscribe button if you believe every child deserves dignity, because we're exposing the discrimination that airlines don't want you to see. And trust me, what happens next will restore your faith that sometimes, just sometimes, the powerless aren't as powerless as bullies think. But to understand how a gate agent could be cruel enough to deny a disabled child access to a seat her family paid for, you need to know who Zara Whitfield really is. And more importantly, you need to understand why this flight to Los Angeles means everything. Zara Marie Whitfield is 13 years old. She's in 8th grade at Lincoln Middle School in Evanston, Illinois. She's on the honor roll. She loves coding and wants to be a software engineer like her dad. She's obsessed with Harry Potter and K-pop and Marvel movies. She has her mother's smile and her father's determination. She's a normal 13-year-old girl except for one thing. 3 years ago, a drunk driver ran a red light at 60 miles per hour and crashed into her mother's car. Her mother died instantly. Zara's spine shattered at the T12 vertebra. The doctors said she'd never walk again. For 3 years, Zara's lived in a wheelchair, learning to navigate a world built for bodies that work differently than hers. Learning to ignore the stares and the pity and the assumptions. Learning to be strong when all she wants is to be normal. To run. To dance. To stand up and hug her dad without needing him to bend down. But 2 months ago everything changed. A surgeon at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles called with news about an experimental procedure. Spinal cord stimulation combined with stem cell therapy. Cutting edge, risky, expensive. But it offers something Zara hasn't had in 3 years. That's hope. The surgery was scheduled for next morning. 6 a.m. Dr. Ramesh Kapoor is the best spinal surgeon in the country. He's performed this procedure on 17 patients. 11 of them regained partial mobility. 3 of them walked again. Real walking, not assisted, not temporary, walking. Zara watches their videos every night before bed. Sees them take their first steps. Sees their families cry with joy. Imagines that being her. Imagines calling her dad from the hospital and saying, "Dad, I stood up. I took a step. I did it." Helen Fisher has been Zara's caregiver for 2 years. Hired by Damian Whitfield after the 4th nanny quit because caring for a grieving disabled child was too hard. But Helen didn't quit. Helen showed up every morning with patience and love and the kind of steady presence Zara desperately needed after losing her mother. Helen braids Zara's hair. Helps her get dressed. Advocates for her at school when teachers treat her disability like intellectual impairment. Makes her laugh when the pain gets too bad. Helen isn't Zara's mother. Could never be. But she's family. The kind you choose. The kind that shows up. That morning Helen arrives at the Whitfield home at 5 a.m. Zara's already awake. Too excited to sleep. They pack carefully. Compression socks for the flight. Pain medication. The special cushion for Zara's wheelchair. Her tablet loaded with movies. Her favorite stuffed elephant that she's had since she was 6 and refuses to leave behind even though she's 13 now and supposedly too old for stuffed animals. Helen makes breakfast. Zara barely eats, nerves, hope, fear. All mixed together. Damian wanted to fly them on his private jet. Wanted to come with them. But he has an emergency board meeting in Chicago that he cannot miss. A merger worth $3 billion that's been in negotiation for 8 months. So the plan is this. Helen flies with Zara to Los Angeles today. Gets her settled at the hospital. Damian flies out tomorrow morning on his jet and arrives 2 hours before surgery. He'll be there when she wakes up. He promised. And Damian Whitfield never breaks promises to his daughter. The car service arrives at 6:30 a.m. Black SUV. Professional driver. Damian walks them out. He kneels beside Zara's wheelchair. His eyes are wet. "Baby girl," he says quietly. Tomorrow you're going to wake up and everything changes. And no matter what happens, no matter what the surgery does or doesn't do, I'm so proud of you. You're the bravest person I know. Zara hugs him tight. I love you, Daddy. I love you more. Now go show Los Angeles what Whitfield strength looks like. The drive to O'Hare takes 40 minutes. Helen and Zara talk about the surgery. About what rehab will look like. About the first thing Zara wants to do if she can walk again. Go to a concert, Zara says. Stand in the crowd. Jump up and down. Feel the music in my whole body. Not just sitting, standing. Check-in at O'Hare goes smoothly. Skyward Airlines, Flight 447 to Los Angeles. First class seats 1A and 1B. The ticket agent is polite, professional. Wishes them a good flight. Security takes longer because of the wheelchair, but TSA is respectful, helpful. They arrive at gate D14 with an hour to spare. Zara plays games on her tablet. Helen reads a book. Everything feels normal, routine, safe. Then boarding begins. First class and passengers needing extra time. Helen stands. Wheels Zara toward the gate. And that's when she sees him. Gregory Vance. 22-year veteran gate agent with a reputation among disability advocates, cold, bureaucratic. Known for interpreting regulations in the harshest possible way. Gregory sees them approaching. Sees the wheelchair. Sees Zara's brown skin and youth. Sees the first-class boarding passes. And something shifts in his expression. Not obvious. Not dramatic. Just a subtle hardening. A decision being made. Helen hands over the boarding passes. Gregory takes them. Scans Zara's. The computer beeps approval. But instead of waving them through, Gregory stares at the screen like it personally offended him. Ma'am, his voice is cold, wheelchair passengers board during pre-boarding. Not first class. You'll need to wait. Helen's confused. We have first-class tickets. We're supposed to board now. Gregory examines the passes like they're forgeries. These seats are in the bulkhead row. Wheelchair passengers can't sit there. It's a safety violation. But that's why we booked bulkhead. Extra space for her wheelchair and medical equipment. Gregory's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Well, whoever booked this made a mistake. Gregory Vance pulls up the seating chart on his computer screen with the kind of theatrical precision people use when they want everyone watching to know they're following procedure. His finger traces across the diagrams slowly, deliberately. Available seats for wheelchair passengers are in row 38, middle section. 38D and 38E. Helen stares at him. Those are middle seats in economy. We paid $2,400 for first-class tickets specifically for her medical comfort before major surgery. Then whoever booked should have read the disability regulations. Gregory's voice carries that edge of satisfaction people get when they think they've caught someone trying to cheat the system. I can't violate FAA protocol. Zara's voice is small, confused. Helen, what's happening? Why can't we board? Helen kneels beside the wheelchair trying to shield Zara from understanding the full scope of what's happening. It's okay, sweetie. Just a mix-up. We'll get it sorted out. But it's not a mix-up and they both know it. Gregory speaks loud enough now for the growing crowd of passengers to hear. Ma'am, I'm trying to ensure everyone's safety. Wheelchair passengers in bulkhead rows create evacuation hazards. This is standard protocol. Helen's patience is fraying. Then why did the booking system allow me to select these seats when I indicated wheelchair assistance during booking? System error. Gregory shrugs like this explains everything. Like computer mistakes are Zara's problem to solve. Not my problem. You'll need to accept the reassignment or deplane. Helen feels her heart rate spike. We deplane? As in not fly at all. As in miss the surgery consultation. As in disappoint a 13-year-old girl who's been counting down days to this trip for 2 months. I'd like to speak with your supervisor. I am the supervisor at this gate. Gregory stands a little straighter. A little taller. Enjoying this. And I'm telling you those seats are non-compliant. Behind them boarding continues. The usual chaos of first-class passengers with too many bags and too much entitlement. An elderly white man approaches. Mid-70s maybe. Using a wooden cane. Moving slowly. He hands Gregory his boarding pass. Seat 2B. Bulkhead row. Gregory's entire demeanor changes. Warmth floods his voice like someone flipped a switch. Good morning, sir. Watch your step there. Let me help you with that bag. Enjoy your flight. The man boards. No questions about evacuation hazards. No mentions of FAA protocol. No reassignment to row 38 middle seats. He just boards. Helen watches this happen. Feels the rage building in her chest but keeps her voice level. So you just allowed a passenger with a cane to sit in bulkhead row 2. He's ambulatory. Gregory doesn't even look at her. Different situation entirely. A woman approaches next. She's white. Late 40s. With a large golden retriever wearing a service dog vest. Her boarding pass shows row 3. Also bulkhead. Gregory scans it, smiles. Welcome aboard, ma'am. Beautiful dog. She boards. No questions. No protocol. No problems. Helen's voice shakes now. And the service dog in row 3? Service animals are ADA protected. Gregory's answer is ready, practiced. This is about wheelchair-specific regulations. Except it's not about regulations at all. It's about Gregory Vance seeing a young black girl in a wheelchair and deciding she doesn't belong in first class. Deciding that people like her belong in the back. In middle seats. In spaces where they can be forgotten. Other passengers watch this exchange. Some look uncomfortable. A young black woman in the economy boarding line whispers to her partner. This is messed up. He's being cruel to that child. Her partner whispers back. Should we say something? The woman hesitates. He's the gate agent. We complain and we might get kicked off our flight too. Better to stay quiet. Better to be safe. Better to look away and pretend you don't see injustice happening 5 feet in front of you. Gregory picks up his radio. Makes a show of it. Supervisor needed at gate D14. Passenger non-compliance with disability seating protocols. We're not non-compliant. Helen's voice rises despite her efforts to stay calm. We're following the seats we booked and paid for. Ma'am, you need to step aside. You're blocking the boarding process. Helen wheels Zara away from the podium. Near the windows overlooking the tarmac. Away from the stairs. Away from the humiliation. Zara's crying now. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet tears sliding down her cheeks. Helen kneels beside her again. Zara, baby, I don't understand. Did we do something wrong? Helen's heart breaks. No, baby. You did nothing wrong. This man is making a mistake. But it's not a mistake. Mistakes are accidental. This is intentional. This is cruelty disguised as policy. This is discrimination wrapped in the language of safety regulations. 15 minutes pass. No supervisor arrives. Gregory continues boarding passengers. Occasionally glancing over at Zara with that look. That satisfied look. That look that says I won. That look that says you don't belong here and I made sure you know it. Helen approaches the podium again. Sir, where is your supervisor? She's dealing with another situation. She'll arrive when she arrives. My daughter has a surgery consultation tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. in Los Angeles. We cannot miss this flight. Then you should accept the seat reassignment I offered. In middle seats in the back of the plane? She has a spinal injury. She needs space for her legs, for her equipment, for basic comfort during a 6-hour flight. Not my concern. Safety regulations are safety regulations. Zara's pain is increasing now, visible. She's been sitting in her wheelchair for over an hour without being able to properly reposition. Her back spasms. Her legs ache. She winces. Shifts uncomfortably, but there's only so much movement a wheelchair allows. Helen notices. Zara, does it hurt? Do you need your medication? Zara trying so hard to be brave. Trying not to make things worse. I'm okay. I can wait. But she's not okay. Tears stream down her face. Her hands grip the wheelchair armrests so tight her knuckles go white. And Gregory Vance sees all of this and feels nothing except satisfaction that he's maintaining control of his gait. But what Gregory doesn't know is that Helen just made a decision. A decision that's about to change everything. Gregory makes another radio call. His third one in 20 minutes. Each one more theatrical than the last. Yes, I have a wheelchair passenger refusing compliant seating. The voice on the other end crackles something inaudible. Gregory nods like he's receiving important instructions, but Helen suspects he's mostly on hold. But, yes, I've explained the regulations multiple times. She's being difficult about the reassignment. Helen's standing 10 feet away, but she hears every word. Excuse me? I'm not being difficult. I'm advocating for my child. Gregory covers the radio receiver with his hand. Ma'am, please lower your voice or I'll have to call security. The threat lands exactly as intended. Helen goes quiet. Not because she's intimidated, but because she knows escalating further might get them removed from the airport entirely. She wheels back to Zara. Sits in the plastic chair beside her wheelchair. Takes Zara's hand. 35 minutes now. 35 minutes of Zara sitting in the same position, unable to move, unable to stretch, unable to do anything except wait for a supervisor who isn't coming and watch other passengers board a plane she paid to be on. The boarding process is nearly complete. Only a few economy passengers left straggling through with overstuffed backpacks and last-minute gate-checked bags. The first-class cabin is full. The bulkhead seats that were supposedly too dangerous for Zara are occupied by passengers who boarded without a single question about safety protocols. Zara shifts in her wheelchair again. This time she can't hide the pain. A small gasp escapes her lips. Her compression device beeps. The medical alert that tells Helen it's time to reposition. Time to adjust. Time to give Zara's body the relief it desperately needs. Helen stands immediately. Sir, my daughter is in medical distress. She needs to board so she can lie down in her seat and relieve the pressure on her spine. Gregory doesn't even look up from his computer. Once seating is resolved, she can board. This is inhumane. Helen's voice breaks now. She's a child with a disability and you're making her suffer. Gregory's response is ice cold. I'm following protocols that exist to protect everyone, including her. Protecting her. The words are so absurd Helen almost laughs. Gregory isn't protecting Zara. He's torturing her. Using regulations that don't exist to justify cruelty that does. Other passengers in the gate area watch this unfold. A businessman in a suit looks uncomfortable but says nothing. A young mother with two toddlers glances over with sympathy but keeps her children moving toward their own gate. An elderly couple whispers to each other but doesn't intervene. A young black woman in the economy boarding line leans toward her partner. This is messed up. They're torturing that little girl. Her partner, a white man in his 30s, looks conflicted. Should we say something? The woman hesitates. The calculus happening in her head is visible. Risk assessment. Consequence prediction. 2. He's the gate agent. Who's going to listen to us? We complain and maybe we get kicked off our flight too. Maybe we get labeled as difficult. Maybe we end up like that little girl crying by the window. So they stay silent. Like everyone else. Like the 40 people in gate D14 who have phones out recording this confrontation but won't actually do anything to stop it. A flight attendant appears at the jet bridge entrance. Young, maybe mid-20s. She looks tired. Gregory, we're ready to close the door. Are those passengers boarding or not? Still awaiting supervisor approval for seat reassignment. The flight attendant's eyes land on Zara. Really land on her. See the tears. See the pain. See the medical equipment beeping. Oh, sweetie, are you okay? Zara looks up at her. This is the first airport employee besides Helen who's spoken to her like a human being in 40 minutes. I just want to go to my surgery, please. The flight attendant's face softens. She turns to Gregory. Can we just let them sit in their assigned seats? The flight is ready. We're going to be delayed. Are you questioning my authority? Gregory's voice sharpens. Defensive now. I'm the gate agent. Seating assignments are my responsibility, not yours. The flight attendant opens her mouth like she wants to push back. Wants to advocate for this crying child. But then she looks at Gregory's face. At his crossed arms. At his body language that screams, "Don't challenge me." And she makes the same calculation everyone else made. Self-preservation over intervention. I'll tell the captain we're waiting on a passenger issue. She retreats back into the jet bridge. Back to safety. Back to not being involved. Helen watches her go. Watches another potential ally disappear. Watches another person choose comfort over courage. And something inside Helen shifts, hardens. She's done waiting for supervisors who aren't coming. Done hoping Gregory will suddenly develop empathy. Done believing the system will self-correct. She pulls out her phone. Steps a few feet away from Zara. Zara notices immediately. Helen, where are you going? I'm calling your father, baby. This has gone too far. Helen scrolls through her contacts. Finds Damian Whitfield. Her hands shake as she presses call. It's 4 a.m. in Tokyo where Damian is for his board meeting. But this is his daughter. This is Zara. He answers on the second ring. Helen? His voice is alert despite the hour. Is everything okay? You should be boarding by now. Mr. Whitfield, we have a serious problem. Helen's voice cracks. Tears she's been holding back for 40 minutes finally spilling over. The gate agent is refusing to let Zara board. He's detained us for almost 40 minutes, claiming her wheelchair makes her first-class seats a safety violation. He's trying to force her into middle economy seats. She's in pain, Damian. She's crying. Her medical device is beeping because she needs to reposition. And he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. The silence on the other end lasts exactly 3 seconds. When Damian speaks again, his voice has changed completely. From concerned father to something else. Something colder. Something dangerous. Put me on speaker. I want to hear this. Before you click away, I need you to understand something. Right now in airports across this country, disabled passengers are being humiliated, denied dignity, treated like problems instead of people. And travelers like you are watching it happen. Recording it maybe, but not stopping it. If you believe that silence makes you complicit, if you think a child's tears should matter more than an agent's ego, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happens next proves that sometimes the powerless aren't as powerless as bullies think. Hit that like button if you stand with Zara. Helen walks back to Gregory. Phone held up. Speaker on. The passenger's father would like to speak with you. Gregory barely glances at the phone, dismissive, annoyed. I don't take calls from passengers. If he has concerns, he can file a complaint through customer service. And that's when Damian Whitfield's voice cuts through gate D14 like a blade. This is Damian Whitfield. You're preventing my daughter from boarding a flight to critical medical treatment. What is your name? Gregory Vance. Gregory's voice has that edge now. The edge people get when they're being challenged and don't like it. And sir, this isn't personal. It's FAA regulations. Damian's voice through the phone speaker is calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes right before a storm. Cite the specific regulation. Number and subsection. Gregory's face flushes slightly. I don't have to cite specific numbers. It's common knowledge that bulkhead rows have evacuation protocols that prevent wheelchair passengers from occupying those seats for safety reasons. So you don't actually know the regulation. Damian's tone doesn't change. Doesn't rise. Doesn't need to. You're making this up. Sir, I've been doing this job for 22 years. I think I know airline safety protocols. And I've been flying for 40 years. I've never once seen a wheelchair passenger denied bulkhead seating for legitimate medical needs when properly requested during booking. This is discrimination. Gregory's jaw tightens. Sir, I'm going to end this call. Your daughter will board when seating is properly arranged. Don't hang up. Damian's voice sharpens just slightly. Helen, is Damian Whitfield listed in my contacts? Helen scrolls quickly. Yes, it is. Call him. 3-way call. Right now. Helen's fingers move across the screen. Adding another line. The phone rings twice before a man answers. Damian? What's wrong? I'm in a meeting. Tom? Damian's voice is tight, controlled. One of your gate agents just denied my daughter boarding on flight 447 from O'Hare to LAX. She's wheelchair-bound. She's 13 years old. She's flying to emergency spinal surgery. And your employee has detained her for 40 minutes using fake FAA regulations as an excuse. The voice on the other end changes immediately. Well, who's the agent? Gregory realizes something bad is happening, but he doesn't know how bad yet. Sir, this is a misunderstanding. I was simply following safety protocols for wheelchair passengers. Is this Gregory Vance? The voice on the phone is sharp now. recognizing the name. Yes, Mr. Prescott, but I can explain. The regulations clearly state that bulkhead seating requires certain mobility standards, and this passenger doesn't meet those standards. Gregory, you're relieved of duty. Thomas Prescott's voice cuts through like steel. Step away from the gate, now. So you can't just remove me from my position. I was following established protocols. I have union protection. I said now. Security is being notified. You're suspended pending investigation. Gregory's face goes from flushed to pale in seconds. You can't suspend me. I have 22 years with this company. I was enforcing safety protocols to protect passengers. You put a 13-year-old disabled child in distress for 40 minutes because you decided she didn't belong in first class. Thomas Prescott sounds like he's moving now. Walking fast. That's not safety. That's discrimination. Damian's voice cuts back in. Tom, that's not enough. My daughter has been traumatized. She's in pain. She's missed 40 minutes of pre-flight preparation for a surgery that could determine if she ever walks again. I want more than a suspension. Damian, I'll handle this personally. I'm 20 minutes from O'Hare. I'll be there myself. Because if you don't, I'm making another call. To Michael Henriksen. There's a pause on the line. Thomas Prescott knows exactly who Michael Henriksen is. CEO of Chicago Airport Holdings. The company that operates O'Hare. The company where Damian Whitfield owns 43% of the shares. Damian, you don't need to escalate this to airport management. I'm handling it. My daughter is sitting in a wheelchair crying because one of your employees decided she doesn't belong in first class. Damian's voice is deadly quiet now. So yes, Tom, I absolutely need to escalate this. I'll give you 15 minutes to fix this situation. After that, I'm shutting down this entire airport until someone explains to me how a 13-year-old child can be tortured for 40 minutes while dozens of employees and hundreds of passengers watch and do nothing. The line goes dead. Gregory stands frozen. His face white. His hands shaking slightly. He can't shut down an airport. That's not possible. That's not how things work. Helen looks at him. Really looks at him. You have no idea who you just messed with, do you? Gregory doesn't answer. Can't answer. Because somewhere deep in his gut he's starting to realize he made a catastrophic mistake. That the little black girl in the wheelchair isn't just any passenger. That her father isn't just any concerned parent. That the power dynamics he's relied on for 22 years just shifted in a way he doesn't understand. Around them, the gate area has gone quiet. Other passengers sensing something big is happening. Phones still out. Still recording. Still documenting. The young black woman from earlier approaches Helen. Her voice is soft. Ma'am, I recorded everything that happened. If you need a witness, I have 40 minutes of video showing how he treated you. Helen looks at her. Really sees her. Thank you. What's your name? Keisha Thompson. I'm a lawyer. And what he did was illegal on about 6 different levels. Air Carrier Access Act. Americans with Disabilities Act. Civil Rights Act. Take your pick. Helen feels tears coming again, but this time they're different. Not helpless tears. Relief tears. You'd be willing to testify? Absolutely, Keisha's voice is firm. I watched him wave white passengers through without questions while he tortured your daughter. That's discrimination. That's documented. That's prosecutable. Zara has been quiet through all this. Listening, processing. Her pain hasn't stopped. Her medical device is still beeping. But something in her face has shifted too. Like she's starting to understand that maybe this time the adults won't fail her. Maybe this time someone with power will actually use it to protect her instead of hurt her. Helen kneels beside the wheelchair again. Baby, your dad is handling this. It's going to be okay. Zara's voice is small, tired. Is he really going to shut down the airport? Helen honestly doesn't know if that's possible. Doesn't know if Damian was bluffing or serious. But she knows her employer. Knows that when Damian Whitfield makes a promise to his daughter, he keeps it. I think he might, sweetheart. I really think he might. Gregory overhears this. Scoffs, that's insane. You can't shut down one of the busiest airports in America because of one passenger complaint. There are procedures, regulations, oversight. But even as he says it, his radio crackles. All gate agents be advised. Prepare for possible operational hold. Stand by for further instructions. Gregory's face drains of color completely now. Helen allows herself a small smile. Tick-tock, Mr. Vance. You've got about 8 minutes before you find out exactly what Damian Whitfield can do. And that's when every departure screen in O'Hare International Airport simultaneously flashes red. The departure screens flicker once, twice. Then every single one in O'Hare International Airport turns red. Solid red. The kind of red that means something catastrophic just happened. The kind of red that makes TSA agents stop mid-screening and pilots look up from their pre-flight checks. Then the announcement. Clear. Impossible to ignore. Attention all passengers and airline personnel. O'Hare International Airport is implementing Emergency Protocol Alpha. All departures are temporarily suspended. Please remain in gate areas for further instructions. The gate area erupts. Chaos, immediate total. What's happening? A businessman shouts at no one in particular. Why are we stopped? Is this a security threat? A woman grabs her children, pulling them close. Should we evacuate? Someone yells into their phone. I don't know. Everything just shut down. Gregory stares at the red screens like they personally betrayed him. This can't be about one passenger. They can't shut down an airport for one wheelchair complaint. That's not how this works. Helen's voice is quiet, steady, almost gentle. They can when that passenger's father owns 43% of it. Gregory turns to look at her. Really look at her. The color draining from his face like someone pulled a plug. What? Damian Whitfield. Helen says the name slowly. Founder and CEO of Whitfield Technologies. Net worth $6.8 billion. Largest private shareholder in Chicago Airport Holdings. The company that operates this airport. The company that pays your salary. Gregory's mouth opens, closes, opens again. No words come out. Just the sound of a man realizing he destroyed his career over middle seats in economy. Around them passengers are panicking. A man in a business suit approaches Gregory. What's going on? Why are the flights stopped? I have a connection in Denver. Gregory can't answer. Can barely breathe. His 22-year career flashing before his eyes. Every complaint he dismissed. Every passenger he profiled. Every time he used regulations that didn't exist to punish people he decided didn't belong. All of it crashing down because this time he chose the wrong child to humiliate. Airport police arrive at gate D14. 3 officers. Moving quickly. One speaks into his radio. We're at the location. Situation appears calm. No immediate security threat visible. Another officer approaches Helen and Zara. Ma'am, are you Zara Whitfield? Zara nods. Tears still on her face. Still in pain. Still confused about why hundreds of flights just stopped because of her. Your father requested we ensure your safety and document what happened here. Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? Zara shakes her head. I just want to go to my surgery. The officer's face softens. He kneels down to her level. You will, sweetie. I promise. But first we need to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Keisha Thompson steps forward. Officer, I'm an attorney. I witnessed and recorded the entire incident. 40 minutes of detention. Discriminatory treatment. Denial of boarding despite valid tickets. Causing physical distress to a minor with disabilities. The officer takes her information. Gregory Vance is still standing at the podium. Frozen, watching his world collapse in real time. The PA system crackles again. This is Airport Director Michael Henriksen. The operational hold will remain in effect until further notice. All passengers please remain calm. This is a precautionary measure. There is no security threat. Repeat, no security threat. No security threat. Just a billionaire father protecting his daughter the only way left when every other system failed her. Just a man with enough power to stop an entire airport and enough love to actually use it. A news crew arrives at gate D14. Camera, reporter, microphone. Sir, can you tell us what's happening? Why has O'Hare been shut down? Gregory backs away from the camera. No comment. No statement. Just a man trying to disappear. But Helen steps forward. My name is Helen Fisher. I'm the caregiver for Zara Whitfield. 45 minutes ago that gate agent refused to let this 13-year-old disabled child board her flight to emergency surgery. He detained her, interrogated her, made her sit in pain while he boarded white passengers without question. He violated the Air Carrier Access Act. He discriminated against a child. And her father shut down this airport to make sure everyone knows what happened here. The camera swings to Zara, to her tear-stained face, to her wheelchair, to the visible pain she's in. The reporter's professional mask cracks. How old are you, sweetheart? I'm 13. Zara's voice is so small. So tired. I just wanted to go to my surgery. The footage will be on every news channel within the hour. Within 2 hours it'll be viral. Within 4 hours Gregory Vance's face will be recognized coast to coast as the man who tortured a disabled child and triggered the longest airport shutdown in O'Hare history. But right now in this moment Gregory just stands there, silent, powerless, experiencing for the first time in 22 years what it feels like when someone with more authority decides you don't matter. A black SUV pulls up outside the terminal. Then another. Then a third. Executives emerging. Moving fast. Grim expressions. Thomas Prescott, owner of Skyward Airlines, in the lead. Michael Henriksen, CEO of Chicago Airport Holdings, beside him. Lawyers, PR team, crisis management. They're not coming to defend Gregory. They're coming to contain the damage he caused. Helen watches them approach through the windows. She squeezes Zara's hand. Baby, I think your nightmare is about to become someone else's. Zara looks up at her. What happens now? Helen smiles. A real smile. The first one in 45 minutes. Now the people who let this happen have to explain themselves to your father. Gregory overhears. His hands start shaking. Visible tremors. Because Gregory Vance spent 22 years believing he had power. Believing his badge and his authority and his ability to interpret regulations gave him control over who belonged where. But Damian Whitfield just taught him something. Taught everyone something. Power isn't a badge. Power isn't a podium. Power isn't the ability to make a child cry. Power is having the resources to shut down one of the busiest airports in America. And the love to actually do it. Thomas Prescott enters gate D14. His eyes immediately find Zara. Find the tears. Find the pain. Find the evidence of what his employee did. And his face goes absolutely white. Thomas Prescott crosses gate D14 in 6 long strides. His entourage follows behind, lawyers and executives and crisis managers, but Thomas doesn't wait for them. He walks directly to Zara and drops to one knee beside her wheelchair. His eyes level with hers, his voice soft, careful, the voice of a man who knows he's looking at his company's greatest failure. Zara, I'm Thomas Prescott. I own this airline. And I am so sorry for what happened to you. Are you hurt? Do you need medical attention? Zara looks at him with exhausted eyes. Eyes that have cried for 45 minutes straight. Eyes that have watched dozens of adults fail her. I just want to go to my surgery, please. For words that cut deeper than any lawsuit ever could. Thomas feels them land in his chest like physical blows. You're going first class, seat 1A, and we're holding the flight until you're comfortable and ready. He stands, turns to Gregory, who's still frozen at the podium. You, my office now. Gregory finds his voice, desperate, grasping. Mr. Prescott, I can explain. There are regulations about bulkhead seating and wheelchairs, safety protocols that have been in place for years. Show me. Thomas's voice is ice. Pull up the specific FAA regulation right now. Gregory fumbles with his computer. Fingers shaking, clicking through screens, searching databases. It's in the manual, section on disability accommodations, wheelchair passenger placement protocols. I'm waiting. Gregory searches, clicks, scrolls, the seconds stretching into uncomfortable silence. His face getting redder. His breathing getting faster. The regulation that he's cited confidently for years suddenly nowhere to be found in the actual documentation. Keisha Thompson steps forward. Phone in hand. Video queued up. There is no such regulation. Under the Air Carrier Access Act, airlines must provide bulkhead seating to passengers with disabilities who request it, provided it doesn't interfere with safety equipment. Seat 1A has no such interference. I'm an attorney and I specialize in disability rights cases. Thomas looks at her. And you are? Keisha Thompson, civil rights attorney. I witnessed the entire incident and recorded it. She holds up her phone. Shows Thomas the footage. 40 minutes condensed into undeniable evidence. Gregory's dismissive tone. The white passengers with mobility aids boarding bulkhead seats without questions. The elderly man with the cane. The woman with the service dog. The double standard captured in high definition. Zara's tears. Her pain. Her medical device beeping. Helen's repeated requests for a supervisor. Gregory's refusal. The cruelty. The discrimination. All of it documented. Thomas watches. His jaw tightening with each minute. His hands clenching into fists. Michael Henriksen stands beside him watching the same footage. Other executives gather around. Watching a PR nightmare unfold in real time. When the video ends, Thomas looks at Gregory. You're not just suspended, you're terminated, effective immediately, escorted out. Gregory's voice cracks. You can't fire me, I have union representation, I was following protocols that have been standard practice for years. Michael Henriksen steps forward. Mr. Vance, you violated the Air Carrier Access Act, caused operational disruption to a major international airport, and inflicted emotional distress on a minor. Your union will drop you the second they see this video. You're done. Airport police step forward. 2 officers. Professional. Efficient. So you need to come with us. Gregory looks around wildly. At the passengers watching. At the news cameras recording. At the executives whose expressions range from disgusted to furious. This is because of who her father is. If she was anyone else you wouldn't care, you'd tell her the same thing I did. Thomas Prescott's voice drops to something deadly quiet. You're right, if she was anyone else we might have let you get away with this like you've gotten away with it for 22 years, but she's not anyone else, and now everyone's going to see exactly what you are. Gregory is led away. Still protesting. Still insisting he followed protocol. Still believing somehow that regulations he invented justify torture he inflicted. His voice fades as he's escorted through the terminal. Past hundreds of stranded passengers. Past news cameras. Past his entire career burning to ash behind him. Thomas turns back to Zara. We're going to make this right. I know that doesn't fix what happened, but I promise you we're going to make sure it never happens again. Helen speaks for the first time since the executives arrived. Mr. Prescott, with respect, making it right isn't just firing one man, it's fixing the system that protected him for 22 years while he did this to other passengers who didn't have billionaire fathers to shut down airports. Thomas nods slowly. You're absolutely correct. We're launching a full investigation. Every complaint against Gregory Vance will be reviewed. Every passenger he may have discriminated against will be contacted. Keisha interjects. I want that in writing, signed, dated, with a timeline for completion and a commitment to publish findings publicly. Thomas looks at her. Done. My legal team will draft it before this flight takes off. Michael Henriksen's radio crackles. So the media is requesting a statement about the shutdown. Thomas responds. Tell them we'll have a press conference in 30 minutes, after we get Zara on her flight. He kneels beside Zara again. Sweetheart, I know you've been sitting for a long time and you're in pain. We have a medical team here if you need anything before boarding. Zara shakes her head. I just want to get on the plane. Then let's get you on the plane. Thomas personally escorts Zara and Helen to the jet bridge. The flight crew is waiting. The captain steps out. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes. She kneels down too. Everyone keeps kneeling for Zara like they're trying to physically lower themselves to apologize for how high the system lifted Gregory Vance above basic human decency. Hi Zara, I'm Captain Martinez. I'm so sorry for what you went through. We're going to take excellent care of you on this flight, I promise. The cabin doors open. First class, spacious, comfortable. Seats 1A and 1B. The bulkhead row that Gregory Vance decided Zara didn't deserve. Helen wheels her down the aisle. And something happens that nobody orchestrated. The entire first-class cabin, all 12 passengers who boarded while Zara suffered outside, they stand up and applaud. Some are crying. Some look ashamed. But they all clap. A middle-aged white man in seat 3C speaks up. I'm so sorry we didn't help you. I watched what happened and I said nothing. I'm ashamed. Others murmur agreement. Apologies, guilt finally manifesting as words. Zara doesn't respond. Can't respond. She's too exhausted. Too overwhelmed. Too done with adults and their apologies that come only after someone with power forces them to care. Helen helps transfer Zara from wheelchair to seat. The flight attendants bring pillows, blankets, anything to make her comfortable. Captain Martinez makes an announcement over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for our delay. We had to ensure one of our most important passengers was properly cared for. Welcome aboard, Zara. The plane is silent except for Zara's quiet crying as she finally gets to lie back and relieve the pressure on her spine. While Zara's flight taxis toward the runway, back in gate D14, Thomas Prescott stands in front of news cameras with Michael Henriksen beside him. The terminal is still on operational hold, 200 flights grounded, thousands of passengers displaced, millions of dollars evaporating by the minute, but Thomas doesn't care about any of that right now. He cares about the fact that a 13-year-old girl spent 45 minutes crying in pain because his employee decided she didn't belong in first class. Good afternoon. I'm Thomas Prescott, owner of Skyward Airlines. Approximately 1 hour ago, one of our gate agents violated federal law by denying boarding to a disabled passenger with valid first-class tickets. The passenger is 13 years old. She's traveling to emergency spinal surgery, and our employee subjected her to discriminatory treatment that violated the Air Carrier Access Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and basic human decency. The reporters erupt with questions. Mr. Prescott, who was the passenger? What exactly happened? Why was the airport shut down? Thomas holds up a hand. The passenger is Zara Whitfield, daughter of Damian Whitfield. She was detained for 45 minutes by gate agent Gregory Vance, who claimed wheelchair passengers couldn't sit in bulkhead first-class seats. This claim has no basis in FAA regulations. Mr. Vance has been terminated immediately, and we are launching a comprehensive investigation into how this was allowed to happen. A reporter calls out. Is it true that Damian Whitfield shut down O'Hare Airport? Michael Henriksen steps forward. Mr. Whitfield is the largest private shareholder in Chicago Airport Holdings. Under our shareholder agreement, he has the authority to request operational holds in cases involving safety, security, or civil rights violations. He exercised that authority when informed his daughter was being discriminated against. The hold will be lifted shortly now that the situation is resolved. Another reporter, was this racial discrimination, disability discrimination, or both? Thomas doesn't hesitate. Both. Gregory Vance has a history of complaints involving passengers of color and passengers with disabilities, complaints that were dismissed by supervisors over his 22-year career. We failed, our systems failed, our oversight failed, and a child suffered because of it. Keisha Thompson appears beside Thomas. She wasn't invited to the press conference, but she's inserting herself anyway. I'm Keisha Thompson, civil rights attorney. I witnessed everything and have 40 minutes of video documentation. What happened today wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern. Gregory Vance detained a black disabled child while waving white passengers with mobility aids through without question. This is systemic discrimination and Skyward Airlines is legally liable. Thomas doesn't contradict her. She's absolutely right. We are liable, we are responsible, and we will be held accountable. The reporters sense blood in the water. Will there be a lawsuit? What are the damages? What changes will Skyward implement? Thomas pulls out a prepared statement. Effective immediately, Skyward Airlines is implementing the following: mandatory disability rights training for all gate agents quarterly, third-party oversight for all disability-related complaints, automatic accommodation for bulkhead seating requests from passengers with disabilities, zero-tolerance policy where first verified discrimination equals immediate termination, and a $10 million fund for disability accessibility improvements across all our airports. A reporter shouts, "Is this just damage control or actual change?" Keisha answers before Thomas can. That depends on whether they actually do it. I'll be monitoring, other disability advocates will be monitoring, and if Skyward fails to implement these changes, we'll be back with lawsuits. Thomas nods. We welcome that oversight. We need that oversight. Clearly our internal systems weren't sufficient. Meanwhile, on Flight 447, Zara is finally asleep. Pain medication kicked in. Body horizontal for the first time in 2 hours. Helen sits beside her holding her hand. The flight attendants have been checking on them every 10 minutes. Too attentive now, overcompensating for Gregory's cruelty with excessive kindness. Captain Martinez's voice comes over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been cleared for takeoff. Flight time to Los Angeles is 5 hours and 40 minutes. We'll be cruising at 39,000 feet, and I want to personally thank you for your patience during our delay. The plane lifts off. Zara sleeps through it. Misses the moment she finally escapes Chicago. Misses the moment she's finally free of Gregory Vance and his invented regulations and his 22 years of protected discrimination. Helen watches the city disappear below them. Thinks about what could have happened if Damian hadn't answered his phone. If he hadn't had the resources to shut down an airport. If Zara had been just another disabled black child with parents who couldn't fight back. How many other Zaras are there? How many kids got reassigned to middle seats in the back? How many accepted the humiliation because they had no other choice? How many suffered in silence because nobody with power cared enough to stop it? A flight attendant approaches. Can I get you anything? Water? Snacks? Anything at all? Helen shakes her head. We're fine, thank you. The attendant lingers. I just want to say, I'm sorry, we all saw what was happening at the gate from the plane, we could see through the windows, and none of us did anything. We should have called the captain, should have intervened, we didn't want to cause problems. There it is again, the confession, the guilt, the admission that preventing problems mattered more than preventing cruelty. You can do something now, Helen's voice is gentle but firm, you can speak up next time, you can refuse to close the door when you see discrimination happening, you can choose the child over the schedule. The attendant nods. Tears in her eyes. I will, I promise I will. She walks away. Helen doubts she'll keep that promise. People always promise to do better after the crisis passes. But when the next Gregory Vance appears, when the next disabled passenger is detained, will this flight attendant actually risk her job to intervene? Or will she choose silence again? Helen's phone buzzes. Text from Damian. Is she okay? Helen types back. She's sleeping, we're in the air, headed to LA. Damian responds immediately. I'm on my jet now, I'll be there before her surgery, tell her I love her. Helen looks at Zara's sleeping face. So young. So tired. So brave. She leans close and whispers even though Zara can't hear. Your dad loves you, baby, he moved heaven and earth for you today, literally stopped an airport, and tomorrow he'll be there when you wake up. The plane cuts through clouds. Carrying Zara toward surgery. Toward hope. Toward the possibility of walking again. Behind them in Chicago, Gregory Vance sits in an airport security office. Terminated. Escorted out. His badge confiscated. His access revoked. His career over. And he still doesn't understand what he did wrong. Gregory Vance sits in the airport security office staring at the wall. His supervisor badge sits on the metal table in front of him, confiscated, meaningless now. An airport police officer stands by the door. Not threatening, just present, making sure Gregory understands he's not going anywhere until the paperwork is complete. A woman enters, corporate attorney for Skyward Airlines, carrying a folder thick with documents. Mr. Vance, I'm here to process your termination and inform you of the charges being filed against you. Charges? Gregory's voice cracks. What charges? I was doing my job. The attorney sits across from him, opens the folder, pulls out the first document. You violated the Air Carrier Access Act, a federal law protecting passengers with disabilities from discrimination. You denied boarding to a passenger with valid tickets based solely on her disability. You caused her physical and emotional distress. You detained her for 45 minutes without legal justification, and you did all of this while being recorded by multiple witnesses. I was following safety protocols. Gregory insists, wheelchair passengers in bulkhead rows create evacuation hazards. The attorney slides a printed regulation across the table. This is the actual FAA regulation regarding wheelchair passengers and bulkhead seating. Please show me where it prohibits what you claim it prohibits. Gregory reads it, his eyes scanning desperately for the language he's cited for years, the protocols he's enforced for 2 decades, But it's not there, it was never there, he made it up, or someone told him years ago and he never questioned it, and now it's destroying him. Additionally, the attorney continues, we've reviewed your employment history, 18 complaints filed against you over 22 years, 14 involving passengers of color or passengers with disabilities, all dismissed by your supervisors without proper investigation. This termination is for cause, which means you forfeit your pension, your benefits, and any severance package. Gregory's face goes white. You can't take my pension, I've worked here for 22 years. You violated federal law. The attorney's voice is flat, unemotional. You discriminated against a child, you caused an airport shutdown that cost millions of dollars, and you did it all on camera. Yes, Mr. Vance, we absolutely can take your pension. She slides more papers across the table. Additionally, you're being sued civilly by the Whitfield family. Criminal charges are being filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office for violation of the Air Carrier Access Act, and the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund is naming you personally in a class action lawsuit on behalf of all passengers you may have discriminated against over your career. Gregory can't breathe, can't think, his entire world collapsing in a windowless security office while hundreds of passengers he delayed finally board their flights. My union will protect me, he manages to say. The attorney almost smiles. Your union received the video footage 20 minutes ago. They've already issued a statement declining to represent you. You're on your own. She stands, collects her papers, leaves the termination documents on the table. You have 48 hours to clear out your locker and return all company property. Security will escort you from the premises today. If you attempt to return to any Skyward Airlines property, you'll be arrested for trespassing. She leaves. Gregory sits alone with the officer by the door and the wreckage of his career scattered across a metal table. Outside the security office, O'Hare Airport roars back to life. The operational hold lifts after 18 minutes, the longest in the airport's history. Flights begin boarding, passengers rushing to gates, the chaos of a major hub returning to normal. But Gregory Vance's world will never return to normal. He spent 22 years believing he had power, believing his badge gave him authority to decide who belonged where, believing he could humiliate passengers without consequences. And Damian Whitfield taught him otherwise in 18 minutes. Zara Whitfield walks through O'Hare International Airport Terminal. Her gait has a slight limp, but she's walking, no wheelchair today, just a young woman at 18 heading to MIT for her freshman year, carrying a backpack full of biomedical engineering textbooks and dreams of changing the world. She passes gate D14 and stops. There's a plaque on the wall now, bronze, permanent, engraved with words that still make her tear up 5 years later. Zara's Gate, in honor of Zara Whitfield, whose courage changed how we serve all passengers. May we always choose compassion over compliance, dignity over discrimination. A little girl in a wheelchair sits near the gate with her mother, maybe 9 or 10 years old, black, wearing a sparkly purple dress, waiting to board. The gate agent kneels beside her wheelchair, smiling, chatting, making her laugh. The girl holds a first-class boarding pass for seat 1A. Zara approaches them slowly. The little girl notices her first, her eyes going wide with recognition. Are you Zara Whitfield? Zara kneels down the way everyone kneeled for her 5 years ago. I am, what's your name? Amara, I'm going to a doctor in California for my legs. I have cerebral palsy. That's wonderful. Zara's voice is soft, warm. Where are you sitting? First class, seat 1A. Amara's smile is radiant, just like you. Zara feels tears building but pushes them back. That's perfect. That's exactly where you belong. She reaches into her backpack, pulls out a small pin, hands it to Amara. The pin says 1A, I belong here in gold letters on purple enamel. This is for you, so you always remember. Amara takes it, holds it like treasure. Thank you. The gate agent calls for first-class boarding. Amara's mother wheels her toward the jet bridge. The agent scans the boarding pass with a genuine smile. Welcome aboard, Amara. We're so glad you're flying with us today. No interrogation, no invented regulations, no 45 minutes of torture, just dignity, just humanity, just a child getting on a plane the way every child should. Zara watches them disappear down the jet bridge. Thinks about the surgery that worked beyond anyone's expectations, the 8 months of physical therapy that taught her to walk again, the foundation she started with her father's help, the 1A Foundation that's funded 200 spinal surgeries for kids whose families couldn't afford experimental treatments. She thinks about Gregory Vance, who she heard works night shifts at a warehouse now, bankrupt, divorced, still insisting he did nothing wrong, unable to comprehend that cruelty has consequences when the victim has a father willing to shut down airports. She thinks about the 18 passengers who stood silent in gate D14 recording her suffering but never intervening, wonders if any of them kept their promises to speak up next time, doubts most of them did. But she also thinks about Keisha Thompson, who became her mentor, who taught her that witnessing injustice means nothing without action, who showed her that real power isn't shutting down airports, it's making sure airports never need to be shut down in the first place. Zara boards her own flight to Boston, finds her seat, closes her eyes for a moment before takeoff. 5 years ago, a man looked at her wheelchair and decided she didn't deserve dignity. Her father shut down an airport to prove him wrong, but Zara did something bigger. She built a world where kids like Amara don't need billionaire fathers to be treated like human beings. If you've ever watched someone be discriminated against and said nothing, if you've ever recorded injustice on your phone but never intervened, if you've ever chosen your own comfort over someone else's dignity, this story should haunt you. Hit that subscribe button if you believe silence makes you complicit. Like this video if you think every child deserves to be treated with respect regardless of their disability or their skin color. Drop a comment telling us about a time you spoke up when others stayed silent, because those stories matter, those moments of courage matter, they're what changed the world one airport gate at a time. The plane takes off, Zara looks out the window at Chicago disappearing below, thinks about her mother who died in the accident that took her ability to walk, wonders if she'd be proud of the woman Zara became. She thinks yes, absolutely yes. Power isn't about destroying people who hurt you, it's about building systems that protect people who come after you. Gregory Vance wanted power over passengers, Damian Whitfield had power to shut down airports, but Zara Whitfield, she has something better, she has the power to make sure no child ever has to experience what she did. And that power, the power to change systems and shift cultures and make the world slightly more dignified for the most vulnerable among us, that's the only power that actually matters. The flight attendant offers Zara a drink. She accepts with a smile, settles back into her seat, heading toward MIT and biomedical engineering and a future built on the foundation of a day when her father loved her enough to stop the world.